Here with Alan Bestwick at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Alan, there's a lot of jobs that you do during this month of May, but this is an incredible month, unlike any other sporting event, besides being the largest one in the world. But this thing has a month long of activities that keeps you and everybody else busy here.
Yeah, I'm a temporary resident of Indianapolis every May now. I think I got here on the 8th. And I'm here till 29th, maybe. Wow. Which is great. Love the city. Love the way the city embraces the event, wraps its arms around it. I mean, I get to be at the racetrack every day, and at this racetrack every day with an all-access pass to have the run of the house. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hear you. I complain to myself a lot, but at the end, I always say, I'm not digging ditches, man. It could be worse. One of the greatest sporting spectacles in the world, and these drivers, the big names that are still in IndyCar, it's amazing that it doesn't matter. Andretti, all of those guys, that's part of what makes this place so magical.
Yeah, I think the magic is the history, the competition, the spectacle, all those words together. That's all part of the recipe that makes this a day like no other. When they asked me to start doing the Indy 500 with ABC back at the time, I thought, well, been doing races here for however many years it was with the Brickyard, same booth, same hotel, same TV compound, same place you park your car, same everything, but it's a totally different experience. And it was a totally different experience then in 2014. So it's a really special event, special day. No matter what kind of fan of motorsports or racing you are, this is special. And that's why it's so much fun to be here to witness it.
What are the things that really stand out to you about this race and this event?
First thing is something I said before, the way the community wraps its arm around this event. You can't be in Indianapolis and not know this race is going on, and it's a big deal. From the street signs downtown, the hotel I'm staying in's got the big logos plastered all over the side of it. Every television station, the newspaper, all the radio stations, every internet site you could think of that has something to do with the city of Indianapolis. This race is front and center of it. It's really fascinating to see the way that the community embraces the event and the history. The people that come here, this is a family thing. For people who grow up in Indiana, for people who used to live in Indiana, this is a family generational thing. So to go out and wander around the grounds and hear, my great-grandfather first brought my father here, and now my father brought me, and now we're here with my son, and that's different. That's very special and unique. And then obviously the place, right? I grew up with the Sunday night ABC tape delayed as must watch. To walk in here today and to be part of the living, breathing history of this place is different. I drove in the tunnel here in April for the open test, and I'm sitting in traffic, and you're shuffling in the morning to get to where you're going to park your car, and I'm just looking at those stands along the front stretch, and I'm thinking to myself, how odd is this, that this guy from the only state in the union that doesn't have a racetrack is coming to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with an all-access pass, and it's brilliant. There's just so many layers to that onion. It's hard to explain them all.
How did you get into calling the races with not coming from that kind of a background?
Yeah, so it's, how much time you got? That's a long story, but
much as you got.
But my dad had a race car at a track in Massachusetts. When I was a little kid, got out when I was probably 8 years old, couldn't afford it anymore. Had to choose between, putting food on the table for his 3 kids and putting tires on his race car. Thankfully, he made the right choice. So I've always been a race fan. It's part of what we shared with our family, and one thing, led to another. Broadcasting was all I ever wanted to do in my life. I mean, that's been my thing from the time I was, as far as I can remember. I wanted to be the guy on the radio, the television. That was just me. And then from there, just circumstance led one thing to another, and ended up at MRN in the mid '80s, and that led to television, and that led to all kind of other weird things. So, the accidental journey of an intended destination, if that makes sense.
There are certain voices that just resonate with racing, whether we're talking Mike Joy in NASCAR or you on both of those, and you're one of the rare ones that cross over besides some of the pit guys. Most of the NASCAR guys stay in that genre, but you've been able to cross over both of those, and that's got to be a blast because this is two completely different monsters.
I think that's more of a product of schedule than anything else, because I feel and believe race fans are race fans. Walk into the drivers and owners motor coach lot at a NASCAR race on a Saturday night, and chances are the television that's playing outside, most of those is on a race somewhere. It might be a sprint car race, from somewhere in Pennsylvania. It might be, an IndyCar race. It might be an IMSA race. It might be any, Formula One on Sunday morning. They'll all be watching. Whether they're here in Indianapolis, whether they're in NASCAR, Charlotte, they'll be watching Monaco Sunday morning. Race fans are race fans. So I think it's hard to be in two places at once that makes that specialization happen more than anything else.
I mentioned NASCAR earlier when I was getting on the elevator. Kyle Larson was getting off, and there's been much talked about with him attempting the double. It's been done before, but Kyle Larson is special. He's a different driver. This guy, I said on my radio show, I think he could race anybody in a Flintstones car. We flipped the car up at Kokomo on the dirt the week before qualifications, but he has brought a ton of attention. Not that Indianapolis needs that attention, but there's more attention that he is bringing over from maybe NASCAR fans.
Well, I think he's giving the NASCAR audience a rooting interest in the race, right? You watch the race and you enjoy the race and so on, but he's one of them who's competing here. And Rick Hendrick is one of them that's competing here. So he's given the NASCAR audience a rooting interest in the outcome of this race, which is fun. It's a fantastic thing. Kyle's uniquely suited to do this. He's one of those guys that can and will drive anything and drive it well. He'll figure it out. He'll think it out, but he won't overthink it. And you're talking about a guy that, yes, will be in a sprint car on a half-mile dirt track on a Wednesday night, jump in a cup car, go practice, 20 minutes of practice, qualify, race 500 miles. He's done the Rolex 24 at Daytona. He's here at Indianapolis. I'm not shocked he's doing well. Because it doesn't happen that often, people forget. But remember, Kurt Busch finished 6th here, qualified 12th. Had his incident at one point during the month, but it was a lesson. Kyle's uniquely suited to do this. His disposition, his adaptability. He doesn't know what he doesn't know, but he's not afraid to absorb that, and he's just got that natural feel for any kind of race car, and it's fun. I think it's great. I would love to see some IndyCar guys get a chance at some NASCAR races in the next gen car. But I remember Joseph Newgarden talking about it. He said, it would take practice. In today's NASCAR, like the Brickyard, okay, that's an off weekend for IndyCar. Would love to see, remember back when the Brickyard first started, 3 or 4 guys, AJ would run, but with 20 minutes of practice right into qualifying, and that's it for the race. You can't do it. You can't properly get a feel for the difference in cars and be competitive. Kyle's had a whole week practice on the oval. Didn't get as many laps as he would have liked to, but he still got a lot more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
to figure it out.
NASCAR, and speaking of, they're going back to the oval on the Brickyard when they return here. So there's that. So maybe enticing Joseph Newgarden or somebody else for that, which would be cool. But what does a top finish by Kyle Larson do for NASCAR? I mean, obviously, IndyCar or F1 is so popular around the world, but it means something to those people, I think.
I don't know if it does anything for NASCAR. Kyle's a NASCAR champion. You know, he's won 2 races already this year. If anything, it just shows to some other people in NASCAR that, hey, you know, these guys are good, and maybe opens the door for some more people that might want to take a shot at it, and even more so some of their business partners, be it manufacturers, be it team owners, sponsors. If anything, it opens that possibility up. Look, Kyle Larson doesn't need to do this to establish that he's a great race car driver. He's a NASCAR champion. You know, he didn't need to do this, but it really is fun that he's willing to give it a go.
And Team Penske, undoubtedly, with the speed in this race, it doesn't matter if we're talking about Kyle Larson or anybody else, they're all chasing Team Penske with that speed that they've got. But come race day, I know things change, things happen. It comes down to luck sometimes, fuel strategy, tire strategy, all of that. But Penske is looking extraordinarily strong.
Penske had a very good qualifying weekend. But as you probably heard repeatedly from all the drivers, and I've heard repeatedly from all the teams back in the garage, this field is thick. And you're going to need to execute a perfect race to win. It's going to have to be flawless. That includes things that are out of your control, like the timing of caution flags versus your pit sequence. Incidents that happen around you. Remember last year, Alex Palou got taken out on pit road. Scott Dixon, a couple years ago, dominated this race. Had a little hiccup on pit road speeding. You have to execute a flawless race to win it, and the field is thick, and I don't put the number of potential winners anywhere less than 20.
Wow.
Maybe more for this race on Sunday. It's thick.
So what are you looking for in this race when it comes around?
Perfection. It's got to be perfect. Everything. The race car and the way you adapt its handling as the day goes on. The driver's execution, his passes, his timing, his pit stops, the driver's execution of the pit stops. That pit road speeding penalty will kill your race if you don't get it just right. The fuel mileage, the way the cautions time out in relation to everything has got to be perfect to win. Somebody's going to get it perfect.
And then the one thing that no one can control is something we're all looking at is the potential weather on Sunday and Monday, for that matter.
Yeah, you know, I've been doing this a long time. I don't have enough fingers and toes to tell you how many times I've sat at a racetrack where there's no way we're racing Sunday, there's no way we're racing Sunday, we start on time, we finish the whole distance. I've also been sitting in a racetrack when the radar was totally clear except for a pin-sized tip of green that came right over the racetrack and hit. So, you know, hopefully it cooperates. A lot can happen between now and then, and whenever it happens, it'll be a spectacular race.
Alan Bestwick, one of the legendary voices in automotive sports racing, I cannot thank you enough.
My pleasure.